makes any money in there?
No. You asked me why I stay where I am. Well, part of it is just, I love what I do, but I'm also, it's selfishly comfortable right now because I'm a single mom of 3 kids. I have a 14-year-old, a 12-year-old, and an 11-year-old at home, and I'm a single mom. I raise them on my own.
Girls or boys?
Boy, girl, boy. So it's, it's crazy and busy.
Are you going to join us, Mr. Producer?
Yeah, as soon as I get you on going here.
Okay, make sure that the judge face shows in the camera.
Oh, we're filming?
Go.
Yeah,
this was
for
just
YouTube.
radio.
No, YouTube.
Go.
So people can see.
You didn't tell me we were going to.
Hello,
You're lucky I even
hello,
wore a
Las
suit
Vegas.
today, Rolando.
This is Rolando Larraz with Face the Tribune. Remember, if you got nothing to hide, you can face the Tribune. But if you don't, run, because we're going to get you. Today with me, I am double honored to have Judge Melissa Saragosa. First of all, Judge, welcome.
Thank you.
And before anything else, thank you for your service to the country. I was so impressed with your resume. I mean, I could not find any other word to say thank you for your service, because I was never young enough to join the service, but I respect the people, and sometimes I go to restaurants and I see soldiers over there, and I thank them for their service. With me also is my good friend, my old friend with gray hair, Mr. Ed Uheling, which is also running for his office, right?
Yes.
Assembly 16?
No, Judge.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Assembly 16.
And my always co-host, Mr. Clark Philly. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
And Judge, let's start with you. Tell me why, with all that resume, with all that qualification, you stuck in Justice Court.
Well, I'm not stuck there. I love Justice Court. It's where I started when I came to town here. I worked in the district attorney's office. It is the court of the people, and that is one thing that I do love about it. I mean, we are a very community-oriented court. We deal with real, everyday issues, both on the criminal side and the civil side. People that, you know, are in need of a temporary protective order, people that have small claims cases that are just, you know, they're not big enough cases where they want to hire lawyers and spend a lot of money, but they feel wrong and aggrieved, and they want a place to be heard and access to justice. We hear landlord-tenant matters. You'd be surprised, but do you know that the Las Vegas Justice Court hears an approximate 30,000 cases of landlord-tenant evictions last year? And an average of about 25,000 each year for the past 10 years. Wow. It's a lot of cases and a lot of people that need their issues resolved. And they need judges that care about those issues. And that's all on the civil side. And we have our, you know, our criminal docket as well. So I love the Las Vegas Justice Court.
I needed a protective order last week. I mean, somebody came over here and wanted to attack me, and actually it was his son. He came over here, and I said, "Who are you?" I didn't know who the guy was, and it's in film. It's in film. So I went and filed a protective order, and they granted. That's good. Let me ask you something before we go any further, because I asked this question to 3 different people, and they have not been able to answer. A public defender that is being sued, can he or she be defended by the district attorney?
Okay, well, they can't be defended by the district attorney because the district attorney represents the state of Nevada in a criminal prosecution.
Well,
so are you saying would a public defender who's been accused of a criminal offense be represented by the public defender's office?
I don't know if he's a criminal or not. It's being accused of not doing his job or her job. I don't remember.
Oh, so some sort of disciplinary action on?
Yeah, the guy is imprisoned. He went to jail.
Oh.
For not doing his job?
For an ineffective assistance of counsel claim, maybe.
Probably,
Okay.
but now he want to appeal. Like, to
Sure.
me, appealing is something that is routine. It's
Yes.
another way for the lawyers to make the money. That's my cynical part.
Okay, that's a cynical
Very
overstatement of
cynical.
that,
Okay.
but yes, okay, I know exactly what you're asking.
Okay, and now he wanted to appeal, and he said, it's no appeal reasons. Well, the guy think it's an appeal reason because in the first place, I also believe it's an appeal reason. I never met the guy, so I don't know how truthful he is, but what I see in the paperwork, he got a reason for appeal. And because the public defender didn't want to appeal the race, the sentence, he's suing and now he got a call.
He's suing who?
He's suing the public defender.
Well,
Oh.
he's going to, so let me back up and say, okay, so there's two different things that can happen after a district court case has been adjudicated and there's a conviction and a sentence. So the defendant does have a right to appeal, and if they're appealing on irregularities or constitutional violations that may have happened at the trial level, then they can use their public defender or the public defender's office. They actually have an appellate unit to represent them in that appeal. If that public defender who's assigned to their appeal does not feel that there are any issues that need to be raised on appeal, then they will tell him that. If the defendant feels that they do have an issue and their appellate counsel acted ineffectively or their trial counsel was acting ineffectively at the time of trial, then he has an issue that's at odds with the public defender's office. In that situation, when they're claiming an ineffective assistance of counsel, it's not what we call a direct appeal. It's a post-conviction habeas corpus relief action. So it's a post-trial petition that is filed at the district court level to be heard on those ineffective assistance of counsel claims, whether it's trial counsel or appellate counsel. They may request of the district court judge the appointment of a counsel separate and apart from the public defender's office to represent them in that.
Right.
I don't know that there's any
But the district
automatic right for it, but
the district attorney can do that?
No, the district court,
No, the district attorney.
the district attorney has no involvement in that.
Notify him that I don't know if it was a he or a she, was representing the public defender in his case.
The district attorney won't represent them. The district attorney will respond
Remember
to
I
the
asked Bob-
It
petition.
didn't sound right to me.
Remember I asked Bob Luke about it, and
Right. So the district attorney doesn't represent them. What the district attorney does is respond to that petition for post-conviction relief. And in responding to that petition, it may be necessary for the district attorney to defend the proceedings, and not necessarily the individual, but to defend the proceedings, that they happened appropriately. And in doing so, they will frequently call the trial defense counsel or the appellate defense counsel as either a witness or get an affidavit from them, and then they will argue
this is
he
the
acted
district attorney.
constitutionally.
The district attorney.
Correct. And there's a case, Strickland versus Washington is a United States Supreme Court case that outlines the responsibilities of an attorney. And so if that attorney
Write that
acted, acted inappropriately, then there may be some relief to be had. But the court will decide. But the district attorney does have to put forth a position and respond to that petition. And in doing so, it may give the appearance that they're representing the defense counsel. They're really not. They're protecting the record and the sanctity of the proceedings.
Who would represent the prisoner in this particular type of?
They can request counsel from the district court to represent them on that petition.
So that'd be the,
I don't know that there's a right to a post-conviction
Yeah.
attorney. Generally, some of those come in pro per, or they represent
Right.
themselves, but they can request a counsel, and I think it's up
But
to
that
the
would be
district
public
court to make
defender
that.
again?
No, it'd be somebody, a
Because
contract
you're going
attorney.
against the public defender's office, so
Right,
it'd
it'd be a contract
Yeah,
attorney.
yeah.
See, that's what I call an explanation.
Yeah.
I asked 3 times and they said, oh no, I cannot.
Lawyers
Oh, yeah.
historically never answer anything.
Yeah.
Unless you
Well,
put up
she
a
is a
retainer.
lawyer.
But I'm saying, if you go to a lawyer, he's never gonna answer anything. until he gets a retainer. And
Well,
then he has to do research.
Well, it also depends upon your level of experience and if you've worked in the appellate system and, you know, there was a time in the district attorney's office that I worked in the appeals unit.
Wow.
And if you've never really had that opportunity to work in an appeals unit on a criminal matter, you may not understand the distinction between a direct appeal
Right.
and a
No,
post-conviction
that's-
action.
I can see that. Good answer.
Thanks.
Very good answer, yeah. You have a question for the judge?
Well,
Mr. Assemblyman?
no, you're doing very well.
Yeah?
I think, yeah, you're very knowledgeable about it.
Okay, so now let me go back to be good. You are running for re-election.
That's correct.
This is your second re-election?
It
Third.
is my, well, let's see, in 2008 I ran for retention after my
Retention,
appointment.
Right.
And I ran for re-election in 2010, unopposed, and this is my second re-election.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Second re-election.
He's right.
Any more
Or third election now.
any more judicial escalating
Aspirations?
aspirations?
You know, I'm undecided. I love where I am right now. I want to win this election and serve for the next 6 years. Is there a possibility over the next 6 years I may take an opportunity to either run for or seek an appointment to district court or another court? It's possible. That opening hasn't come, and I'm happy where I am. I have a lot of unfinished work that I want to get done. I'm working on a lot of special projects, especially with our civil division and with my Veterans Treatment Court.
Like what?
Well, the civil division is in need of expansion. We really need to dedicate more resources to that. We're hopeful we'll get those resources in this upcoming year, and we need space. So we have a bench of 14 judges right now. We have 11 courtrooms, I think, so we share courtroom space, which limits the amount of criminal cases a judge can hear in the morning, limits the amount of civil cases that can get heard in an afternoon, and we need some more space to accommodate our needs. So we're looking at some space over in the Phoenix building across the street. You're familiar with that building right across the street there, and perhaps some, after the Supreme Court moves into their new building, there will be some room on the 17th floor that we may look into. So there's a couple of different options on the table right now.
And what happened with those spaces? You have to rent, justice court have to rent those spaces, or they given to them by the court system?
Well, it's not the court system, it's the county. The county
The
owns
county.
the building. And
Uh-huh.
so we have to work out those issues with the county. And then there's the cost of a build out and building courtroom space and things like that. So those are issues we'd have to deal with, you know, budgeting
Did
in
that
the
come out
county.
of your budget or come out of the county general budget?
It depends. Depends on what the county wants to help us out with. If we had to take it out of our own budget, our budget comes every year from the county. So they would have to put it in there. We do have some administrative assessment fees that can be used for structures build out and things like that. I don't know that we have the resources right now. It would deplete everything we had if we had to pay 100% of a build out. So we're trying to work those issues out with the county right now, but that's something I really want to see that to fruition. I really want to work through those issues for our civil division and get those done. And I took over our Veterans Treatment Court 1 year ago, well, a little over a year ago
The
now.
veterans,
It's a specialty court program
Uh-huh.
designed for veterans who suffer from either substance abuse issues that may be related to their military service,
something like,
or post-traumatic stress disorder or other mental health issues
something
related
like
to their
Linda
service.
Bell doing district court?
Yes, Linda Bell used to run that program. She's moved to a different docket now. Judge Escobar runs that program for the district court right now. But yes, a similar program, same format.
Okay.
And so
But you want to do that in justice court?
I'm doing it now.
You're doing it now?
Yeah, I've been doing it since January of 2015, and we're working to, you know, we're still working to build that program up. We really want to get that.
You know, we have Chief Judge Barker here the other day, and I asked him the same question. Why do you guys think that it's important to have a specialty court? You're supposed to, as a judge, you're supposed to be able to handle, and he explained his point of view.
Right.
Now I'm asking you the same question. Why do you think you need a drug Court for veterans?
Okay, well, I can answer that. According to statistics, 1 in about 6 veterans that returns from overseas, especially in combat scenarios, suffers from substance abuse issues. About 1 in 5 suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, perhaps traumatic brain injury or other mental illness, anxiety issues, depression, issues related to their service. And when they come back and they have a difficulty transitioning into civilian life after military service, then it's not uncommon for them to attempt to self-medicate. And when they self-medicate,
Like getting high?
yes, and they
And
use
they
alcohol,
drink it,
they use alcohol, they use drugs, street
Yeah.
drugs, and they attempt to self-medicate through the wrong means. And when that happens, there is just a cycle that's created. You have an individual who, may start at the low level misdemeanor crimes, who gets arrested, gets put in jail, serves some time in jail, gets released from jail, does maybe some community service or a fine, but they never address that root problem. They never address the post-traumatic stress disorder, they never address the substance abuse. And guess what? If they don't get treatment for it, they're just going to end up in that cycle again, repeatedly. And until something is done to kind of break that cycle and to direct them in a different direction, they're going to keep doing the same thing.
So they need a special judge for that? Or you don't think any judge in the 14th department, 14, right?
Yes?
Yeah, 14th department, and they can, none of those judges are qualified to handle.
Oh, no, I don't mean to say that's not accurate. I think any judge would be qualified to handle that docket.
That's my question. Why do we need a specialty court?
Because it is easier for, especially in the veterans, each of my veterans has a veteran mentor. Each one of those veterans comes together. They meet every 2 weeks in my court. They are there on a regular basis. They get to know each other. I have a veteran coordinator. There are so many services that are unique to veterans that if I have one court coordinator, I can coordinate those services for the veterans easier than having 14 judges who don't have an isolated coordinator to pull those resources together. We deal with housing, we deal with vocation, job placement, job training, all kinds of issues for the veterans that come in. And it's similar to a drug court or a DUI court, when you can bring all of the people that have the same issue together at once and kind of treat them and bring them into court at the same time, then you're not dealing with a petty larceny here and a drug offense there and a theft offense here. You're kind of bringing them all together and dealing with their issues in one.
Okay, you're talking about drug court. It doesn't make any difference if they are veterans or not.
Correct. The Veterans Court is unique to veterans.
So
But guys, don't jump all at once.
Well, we
know.
are, now you interrupted.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're a specialty court, so to speak, but you get designated cases from other judges.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Like I
so
handle
it's
my
really a
regular
policy
criminal docket,
type thing
but
that
in
you-
addition to my regular
Right,
criminal
right.
docket, I have the Veterans Court. And that court meets twice a month. And all of the judges that have regular criminal cases that may have one that involves a veteran will send that case to the Veterans Treatment Court if they're
Right,
in
yes.
need. I mean, if they have treatment needs. And then that court is a year-long program too. They meet, for a year while they're going through that program. And when they get out of that program, the idea is that they will not reoffend. And I'll tell you, the first court in the nation who had a Veterans Treatment Court out of Buffalo, New York, has a 98% success rate.
Oh.
That's pretty good.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not just pretty good.
It's
That's
phenomenal. Yes.
Yeah.
So, that's the goal. That's the goal. A 98% success rate for veterans who have, served our country. It's going to take me a year to serve them and to help them
If you
get
don't
some
have
treatment.
policies like that, your system's making everything worse.
And
Because
the
of the
added
circle,
cost.
the circle.
That's right, the added cost of incarceration.
Things just get worse.
And what did they do in Buffalo to make it work so well?
Well,
They must be providing some very unique.
they're the pioneer of kind of the Veterans Treatment Court. The judge in Buffalo was the first judge to have a court. Now, they have programs from the Bureau of Justice Assistance as well as a program called Justice for Vets. And these are programs that are designed to teach those validated best evidence-based practices that Buffalo began and implemented, and they bring those to other courts and train. So last year, about a year ago today, end of April last year, we got a grant funding from this Justice for Vets program to come in and train us on how to implement the best evidence-based practices to be the most successful. So those are the things that over the past year and in this upcoming year that I want to continue. I want to keep building our court. We want our court to be the best there is.
Well, yeah.
What can you do with a veteran though that, for example, has committed some war crime or some atrocity in a war zone?
That's a little
And-
different because we don't have jurisdiction over those offenses. We only have jurisdiction of offenses that
No,
have
I
been
understand you
cured.
have jurisdiction, but he won't talk about it, or he or she won't talk about it, and you know very well that the person is affected.
Sure.
If they do talk about it, they'll be condemned. How do, it seems impossible to deal with that situation.
Well-
And it's coming out more and more. For example, there was someone on KNPR the other day who tortured people in I think it was Guantanamo, but I'm not sure. And, or the person from Creech Air Force Base that wrote a book about his, how he felt guilty about bombing, dropping bombs on these people.
Right.
And so how do people overcome those things?
Well, I mean, first of all, the ones that we see are the ones who find themselves in a criminal justice system. So at some point they've committed some criminal act locally that brings them into our system to even address their needs. We do an assessment and hope to get as much information from them as we can. Then we put them in contact with two different areas primarily. One is through the VA hospital out in North Las Vegas, and the second is with the Vet Center. It's located here in town. The Vet Center specializes in dealing with combat veterans, and so it's hopeful that over a period of time they may open up, deal with those issues that are causing them to get embroiled into the criminal justice system, and sometimes that's going to take time. Now, someone who's writing a book about their experiences may not be as reticent to share those details. Obviously, they've shared them with the world if they're writing a book, but if they're still feeling trauma from those instances, then the same protocol would apply. Any veteran out there is entitled to their VA benefits, and my goal is to put our veterans that are in need of treatment in connection with their services that they've earned and those benefits that they've earned.
They've had this problem in other countries, for example in South Africa, and formed these reconciliation committees where the people would confess what they did to the people that to the families of the people that they did things to.
Right.
And it seems to have worked well. I think in Rwanda they use this method also. Does it get that deep in what you do in the court?
No, not with what we do. I mean, the treatment itself, I'm not a treatment provider, so I don't get into that level of discussion with any veteran. I will order them to participate in the treatment and go to the treatment, but the discussions that they have with their treatment provider are confidential to the extent that this is a psychotherapist that's assisting them. They do have some level of privilege. The only information that they would report back to me is, they're participating, they're, doing well, they're successful. We do random drug tests throughout the program so we know whether they're using things like that, but we don't get into that level.
Do you order that or you suggest that they participate?
I order it.
You order,
It
they
is
have
ordered.
to participate
Correct.
in that program.
Correct.
So if they don't, they go to jail.
Well, then there's definite sanctions. They might not go
Yeah.
to jail immediately. That
Right.
might be the ultimate sanction,
Right.
but there are leveled sanctions that would happen along
And
the
the
way.
money for all their services is a grant, or where does the money come from?
Well, it has to come from the Department of Defense or the Veterans Administration.
Well,
They're the ones that created the problem.
There's a little bit of both. So first, that's part of the beauty of this program is by isolating those veterans and having agreements like, MOU with the VA that we're kind of working on right now. The VA already has those services. They already have an addictive disorder treatment program in place, and that's there for veterans whether they're in the criminal justice system or not. So their treatment program is
But by you
already
ordering it,
structured.
they have to
I
pay
order
attention.
it. That's right. I
If
order
the vet
it.
goes
They
there on
have
his
to.
own, he gets nothing.
Well, he can voluntarily opt out at any point. In my program, they can't voluntarily opt out because I've ordered it and they know there are
But if
sanctions.
he goes on his own to this service, the service doesn't have to pay any attention to him. But if you order him to go there, they have to pay attention.
But if he hasn't
I don't
committed
know.
a crime.
I don't know that I would think they don't pay attention. That the program is the same whether it's a group session.
Well,
So
yeah,
in one
yeah.
group, you might have a veteran that's there because they've been court ordered to go. You might have a veteran who's there voluntarily, and they're all going through the same group treatment. I don't think they ignore some and
So
treat
you
the
hear
others.
stories of veterans dying waiting for service for 4 or 5, 6 months.
There are definitely
You know,
some
there's
mental health
problems.
services is the problem, and a lot of the
And money's
medical.
the problem.
But the ADTP program is not an issue for them to get in and get seen right
What do you
away.
call it?
Addictive Disorder Treatment Program, ADTP.
Oh.
And those, going back to Buffalo, New York, that program that they created over there, you say you needed funding for that program. Why do you need funding?
Well, the funding that we got the grant for the training. They came in, that was from Bureau of Justice Assistance. We didn't pay for that locally. That was a federally funded training initiative that they did for us. With respect to the actual treatment, the vet center and the VA, no one pays for that. That is a federally funded program that's already in place, so there's no additional funding locally. What we do look for funding on are, we operate on a system of incentives and sanction. We get some money for incentives that we give when they've accomplished significant goals in their treatment. We get funding for inpatient treatment. We do not have a veterans inpatient facility in the state of Nevada. So it's very troublesome when we have someone who really needs maybe a 28-day inpatient program before they begin their outpatient treatment. It's important for us to keep them locally. If we send them out of state, we have no control over what's happening anymore, and we lose that member more times than not. So we need funding to fund 28-day programs in state. We use there's a number of variety of inpatient programs here that we can contract with for those. Other
So there are
fundings-
spaces, there are places to send people like that.
There are
Because people are
inpatient
complaining there aren't
facilities.
enough mental health facilities.
Well, these are mostly substance abuse facilities that some of them have coexisting treatment for mental health, but the 28-day inpatient program is really for substance abuse. And then they deal with the post-traumatic stress disorder and the mental issues, usually on an outpatient basis. Once they've kind of gotten clean in that 28 days, it's now you can kind of go in and treat the mental health disorder during those first 30 days. It's kind of a fog.
What is your estimate of the success rate? And first of all, do you see change in some of these people?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. I see change. Yes. Like I mean, it's amazing the transformation in some. I mean, I have Vietnam era veterans who have been addicted to crack cocaine for 30 years in my program. And they are clean and have been clean and have graduated from the program after a year's worth of participation and are doing phenomenal. I have veterans that have been...
Can you say that about heroin too?
I don't know that I have anyone that's gotten that far in the program on heroin. I have people in the program now that have heroin addictions, and it is definitely one of the most powerful addictions out there.
Difficult to
Very
treat.
difficult. I have some, it's tough. I have veterans now that have, more than 45, 60 days clean from heroin addictions, and they're still in the program now.
Yeah,
They're
because
still working.
I remember when the Ted Binion trial, and they was talking about that part, and they think the heroin is something that people never cure themselves from
It's
that.
difficult.
Very, very difficult.
Yes.
But they also say that a lot of the heroin addiction is a secondary effect of psychotropic drugs. That people have had an issue in the past with pain, and they become
Yes.
addicted to drugs that are sold by drugstores and doctors,
Right.
and then
Because
they
they're all
don't
from the
have it
same
anymore. And
class.
then they have to have heroin.
Yeah.
Well, morphine and oxycodone and some of those medications
Yeah, right.
are opioids. The heroin is an opioid as well, so it's it's not uncommon for someone to have become addicted to those pain pills, and then at some point their tolerance level gets to the point where they just don't work anymore and they need something different and they turn to heroin.
Yeah.
Isn't heroin
This-
cheaper for whatever reason? I heard it was cheap, dirt cheap. That's why they have
I don't know.
all the problems with like New
What,
Hampshire.
heroin?
Yeah, in New
I hear
Hampshire and in
Right.
I hear it's
Massachusetts.
unbelievably cheap, and that's
Baltimore
why
is a
everybody
very
goes to
big,
it.
What?
Baltimore, Maryland, I know is a very big
Oh, really?
Yeah.
heroin addiction problem.
It seems, yeah, focus, but you don't notice it that much here.
I've got cases for sure. I just don't have anybody who I can say has gone through the full program yet. Since I've run it for 1 year, I've got people that are at various stages. None that I can think of that have finished the program that have heroin addiction, that they're
Yeah.
still in it.
So this program really excites you.
It does. It does. Now, you asked me, Rolando, about success rate and kind of comparing it to Buffalo. I can give you anecdotal information, but we did use some of the funding that we did get some funding from the Administrative Office of the Courts last year, and we've used a portion of that to contract with an evaluator from UNLV that's going to help us set up using some nationally recognized metrics to measure our success or failure, if that the case may be, hopefully success. But also to identify the data points, so make sure that we're collecting the right data that we can use to then apply the metrics to and see how well we really are doing. So that's in the works. That's something I want to follow through.
My
We
question,
have 18 people that I know of that have graduated the program after a full year treatment base, and only 2 that I know of that have reoffended.
reoffended, wow, that's pretty good
That's
success.
pretty good success.
You
They
know,
offended to a criminal act, is it?
Correct.
Yeah.
My question was not necessarily about the success of the program. I was thinking more about the money part of the
Right.
program. Why do you need to have funding or grant? I thought maybe it could have been a court-to-court
Right.
courtesy on training. Maybe you guys can go over there and get trained, or they can come over here. It's probably easy for them to come here because everybody wants to come to Las Vegas. It's
How do
Well,
they pay
yeah.
for their tickets?
It's treatment
You gotta
based.
follow the money. Who's
Right.
paying?
The money for the treatment and for the incentives, and we do have some agencies out there that will periodically donate to the program. And we don't solicit that, that would be inappropriate, but it happens. We have agencies that will give items. Was so gracious. They brought in at Christmas time or the holidays all the children of our veterans. Amazing and very generous.
County Republican
They did.
or the state Republican?
Clark County.
Clark County, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's very generous of them.
unfortunately, the chairman.
But they have their issues.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, but I mean, I
but
think
it's
he
a
was
generous
doing.
thing to do.
I think he was doing a good job.
I was just commenting on the
this-
generosity of
Right.
community
That's right.
organizations, regardless of affiliation,
I-
that help.
That's really
And
surprising.
let me ask you something now, talking. Did anybody report on that? Did anybody did an article on that? Did the court notify the media?
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
We
well,
did a
I
press
didn't
release on
I
it.
didn't get a press release.
We did a press release.
I've been discriminated by the
No.
police department, why not by the court? You know?
We don't have at the Las Vegas Justice Court, we don't have our own internal PR person. The
Why
district
not?
court does. Well,
Can I
because the-
apply for the job?
If you can get the county to fund such a job, then absolutely, but I don't know if the county's gonna fund that position. So the county has they have an individual that works on a lot of that
Yeah.
helps us, but we don't have any means
So
of
you
doing
don't
that
use the
internally.
same PRO that the district court use?
No, because we are not.
Separate,
We're
eh?
separate.
Yeah, okay.
So are you the chief judge of
No.
the Justice Court?
No, I'm not. Judge
Who is?
Bonaventure, Joe Bonaventure
Oh.
is our chief
Oh,
judge.
okay.
He's been the chief judge for the past, I guess,
A
little
year.
over a year now. And
Oh.
his term is for 2 years, and he's appointed me as our civil presiding judge. So despite my criminal work and the Veterans Court work, I'm actually the presiding judge over civil. Mostly administrative and policies and procedures in the back office.
Okay.
Is he doing a good job as a chief judge?
I think he does. I think he does a great job.
Jeez.
Oh, you can ask that question.
Well, this is Rolando, what can I tell you?
I think
You
our
know,
chief judge just does an amazing job. I mean, you'd be
I
surprised.
was told that he's
You
gonna
know.
be here soon.
Good.
I don't know when, a week or 2 weeks from now.
I think everyone's surprised how well he's doing.
Oh,
Why?
really? I'm not surprised.
No?
No,
he's
Because
been a
he
judge
was
for 11
elected purely
years.
on the name of the.
He's
Oh,
been a
that
judge.
was 10 years
And he's
ago.
done a fantastic job.
He's
That
done
was
a
10 years
fantastic
ago.
job, and he's a judge. He's been a judge for 11 years.
Yeah, that
he
was
worked
10
in
years
private
ago.
practice. He was a district attorney. I worked with him when I was in the district attorney's office. So
Why is that infatuation of prosecutors to change the black suit by the black robe? Why that can be? Why can they go be happy being a prosecutor? Why do they have to?
I don't know. I guess. Well, I think regardless of whether you start as a prosecutor or defense attorney, I mean, you look at some of our judges started out as public defenders. You know, Judge Yeager started as a public defender. So I don't. Judge Beta Yeager is one of our newest appointed judges,
Beta, yeah.
and she came from the public defender's office. So I don't think it's one side or the other. I think
Well,
when
find me
you
another
work
one. Find me another
when
one.
you work for the district attorney or the public defender, you're still a county government employee. You're a public servant. You might be serving, you know, the state. You might be serving, you know, our indigent defendants, but you're a public servant. So I think it's a natural progression to still work for the county.
Let me ask you, like I told you before the show started, if you feel uncomfortable with the answer, you don't have to answer, okay?
Or with the question.
Yeah, with the questions, okay. I lost track of what I was trying to say.
Darn.
Don't you think it's a conflict? Then you are a prosecutor now, right? And tomorrow you become a judge. I am a prosecutor, and I go to appear in front of you. You don't think that there is the possibility of a judge being able to tend more to the part where the prosecutor is right or wrong?
Okay. There's always a possibility of anything. So, I mean, sure, there's
you
always
are
a
difficult.
possibility.
You're difficult to interview.
No, I don't think that that's the norm. I think you want judges on the bench who have experience. And you can't have a judge on the bench presiding over criminal cases who's never handled a criminal case. So whether you're a defense attorney or a prosecutor, you've got to start somewhere, but you've got to have the experience of what a criminal case is, what needs to be done, what's the right thing, what's the wrong thing, and what's constitutional rights are
Judge,
there.
I hate to disappoint you, but there are judges in the present time. No, I'm sorry. There's judges that don't have experience of anything, and they do go and take cases that they don't know anything, and they admit in open court that they never had any experience either as a defense attorney or as a judge with type of cases.
Well, all I can say is that I hope that the voters out there are in tune enough with what's going on in our community to educate themselves, to become informed as to the candidates, and to know who has the requisite breadth and depth of experience.
And that is what I am intending to do, because I believe that up to now, the election for judicial election, it is strictly among the judicial community, the legal community. And I think the people have to start learning who the judges are.
Absolutely.
And what they stand for. And instead of I got people coming over here, and I'm not getting tired to say that. They come over here, they're complaining about how they were mistreated, and I ask, who is the judge? Oh, I don't know.
Right.
You know, the judge name is right there, for
But they
Christ's
don't
sake.
even know who the judge is.
Hey, and they don't know, and it's not because the language better. American people, they come over here and they don't know the name of the judge.
Well, you have to be informed and you have to educate yourself, and any voter should do that. I encourage all voters to inform themselves.
But in the judicial races especially, it's so difficult because the candidates can't talk about specific cases.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
And whereas the politician in the political
Right.
realm, non-judicial, you can talk about anything
Right.
and have positions and all the.
Then you can lie
That
about it.
doesn't mean.
And lie about it, that's true.
That doesn't
We
mean
always have
that-
that problem.
That doesn't mean that they are gonna talk, but
No, I
they
know.
can talk.
That's right.
You
The
know?
judges are really, judge candidates are really.
And it's very,
It's
very
so-
difficult to have a judge as a guest because it's only so much you can ask.
You just called me difficult.
No, it's not that. I mean, judges in general, because normally when you invite a judge or the judge accept the invitation, it's because they expect a friendly conversation. And if you ask a question, then it's a little bit difficult for them to answer. Then they feel uncomfortable and they don't want to talk about what the other judge did wrong. And what I was saying,
That's right, they can't talk about
they
this.
can. What I was referring, for example, the appellate court.
Okay.
The appellate court was created, and with all the respect, Justice Mike Douglas deserved, I kind of disagree with him. He wrote a couple of good articles for the Tribune in favor of, I believe that if the district court will do the job the right way, there was no need for appellate court, even though, like he explained to me, people appeal decisions sometimes, even if it's bogus or not. But still, now, assuming, for example, my friend Abby Silver, okay, she is the only one that I really know and I like in the appellate court. Now, somebody appealed a case from Judge Doug Smith or Judge Alan Earl.
Okay.
It is Alan Earl or Earl Allen?
No, Alan.
Alan Earl, okay? Abby Silver probably was next door to one of those two. How can she rule against his ruling? How can she, do you understand what I'm
I
trying
do.
to say?
I do.
And I find that to be a conflict. I think the appellate court should be from judges probably from California or from even Reno or something. They don't know each other. They don't have any communication. Do I make sense or not?
You make sense. I understand.
But
your
you
point.
don't agree.
I don't agree, Rolando. I don't agree. I don't agree. I think there are many times when, as a judge, you have to set aside. Well, first of all, if there was enough of a friendship or a relationship there between a judge and a litigant before them, then there are appropriate channels to recuse yourself from that case, and that's the responsible thing to do as a judge. But
No,
I mean, I know every
When you're
attorney in
appellate?
town.
No, in the appellate court, if you appeal
No, not in the
city-
appellate court, at the lower trial court
Okay.
level. But you have an obligation to hear the cases before you. You want judges that are knowledgeable on the laws in the state of Nevada and the state of the case law in the state of Nevada. So I don't like the idea of bringing in judges from out of state, and I think that you need to appoint and elect judges that you know will be fair and impartial, regardless of the fact that, I don't know,
Judge.
3 years ago, I used to have an office across the hall or down, on the separate floor in the same building as another judge.
Judge Saragosa. Let me do that in the very Spanish way, Saragosa. I'm not
Well, if anyone can do that.
That's true.
I'm not disputing the knowledge of the judges
But you
in
question their
I'm questioning
integrity.
the ruling.
But by doing that, you're questioning their integrity. You're saying they can't be fair and impartial because they used to work with this individual, so they're automatically going to have a bias, or well, not a bias, but a prejudice in favor of them, or a bias in favor of
Okay,
them, I guess.
let me ask you
And
something.
I don't think that's
Now,
true.
your office is right next door to Judge
Sullivan's.
Zimmerman,
Okay,
okay?
yep.
Do you think that you can judge Zimmerman the same way that you will judge somebody than
Joe Blow.
Jobber?
I do. I think I could, and Ann's my friend.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
but if the case came before me and the issue were a Fourth Amendment issue, I would look at the Fourth Amendment and see what it said and look at the case law and I would rule on the case in a way that I
And then
thought
you
was
lose a friend.
appropriate. I don't think so.
No?
I don't think so. I mean, look, I have attorneys in front of me every single day. Guess what? One of them loses and one of them wins, so to speak, in
Yeah.
almost every case. I mean, you don't always rule in favor of a motion one way or another. And just because I rule against somebody in a motion or in a, you know, whatever it is that's before me at the time, a case overall, it's not personal. I'm doing my job and I'm doing the job to the best of my ability.
Well, how
It
many
shouldn't be
of them,
personal.
how many of them will understand that? I know because looking at your record, looking at your resume, talking to you, I know you are an intelligent woman. I know you are an amazing human being.
Thank you.
With all my respect
Thank you.
to your husband.
Watch out. Something's
You know, but, you know, what I'm saying is, how many of them can really separate one from the other one?
All I can do is control me. You know, I can only control how I am. I can't predict how the
No.
rest of the world is gonna be. I would hope that
Well,
most
you're
people would
supposed to.
understand
You're
that.
supposed to do that, you're a judge.
Oh, I left the crystal ball at home.
Do you have any question for the judge? I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
let's discuss something else. I mean,
Yeah.
you're beating this to
And let me
death.
remind,
I mean, how can you?
let me remind everybody that we are talking to Judge Melissa Saragosa from the Justice Court Department
4?
4, right? Yeah. And she's running for re-election, and I'm very proud to have her here today.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have two questions. One regarding the financing of the judicial system
Okay.
and the judges and so on, and the other involving the number of people that end up in jail here in Nevada
Right.
and in the United States. In fact, we're the biggest jailing society in the world. So that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have more people in jail than China, that has 4 times the population. We have 40 times the number of people in jail as per capita as Holland, for example. Anyway, so on the issue of financing,
Okay.
how appropriate is it that this is a function of the county? You mentioned the county, you get your budget from the county.
Right.
The county, this is a legitimate function of government, the judicial system. And yet, they're more and more, they're trying to collect, put higher and higher fines on people and administrative fees and all these other things to finance the court system. Why is that happening? And is it a legitimate use of the money? And wouldn't a better system be to take all fines and separate it entirely from the judicial system and every other governmental system, so there isn't this inclination to always agree with what with the whoever has put the label on the person as a criminal or as a violator of a law, and that person doesn't have any chance really, or has very little chance. And why isn't there a better way of financing these things, especially since it's a legitimate function of the government?
Well, I don't know. I don't know of a better way to finance the system. I mean, obviously the money has to come from some source. So
No, but it should come from property, or from taxes of people, not from fines or not as a percentage of the fine, or I don't know how they divide
So,
these things up?
Well, there's a long list of the way it's divided up. You'd be surprised. So
Okay.
and I didn't bring all of those little details here, so I'm gonna give you generalities because I don't know the specifics.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
But any given fine, so there's the fine portion. So let's just say, a criminal offense at a misdemeanor level, that the defendant was given a total monetary punishment, if you will, of $250.
Yeah.
In reality, that is a $155 fine. It is a $10 facility fee that goes to pay off the bond for the construction of the Regional Justice Center, as well as any future build out, and there's a whole laundry list under statute of what that can be used for.
Right.
There's a $7 administrative assessment fee. That $7 fee is controlled by the county in a county account, but it is technically justice court money. It's intended to be used for IT type expenditures. Again, there's a whole laundry list of the appropriate expenditures under statute. And then there's, and so on, up to $95. So you've got the $155 fine, $95 in administrative assessment fee. Each little piece of that administrative assessment fee. $3 is for the genetic testing when they do draw DNA and put that DNA into the CODIS system, so that in the future, if there's unsolved crimes, they can run it through.
Right.
So there's $3 for that. So there's all these little bits of administrative assessment fees that get tacked on to the actual fine, and those are all enumerated for very special purposes. Part of that is like indigent defense fund. Part of it is, all these little things. The $155 fine portion is divided into two parts, like 51% in half and 49% in the other half. I don't know which half, I don't recall right now. One of those halves, roughly 50% apiece, goes to the administrative office of the court, and it's broken down into yet a whole nother sundry of, bits and pieces. And then the other half goes back to, a large part of it goes to the county, and I think there's a part that goes to the state that is for education. So there's this whole breakdown. It's all by statute of where this fine goes and how much percent goes here and what goes there and what goes here.
Yeah, but that's my problem.
So it's a misnomer. It doesn't really fund the court at all. It funds
No, but-
a whole bunch of stuff.
But that means the government has an interest in all these fines.
Yes.
The government should not have an interest in fines. It's a fund. We have three branches of government. We have legislative, we have executive. I'm remembering back in, and we have judicial.
Correct.
They should be funded by the taxpayers, not by, the government should not have an interest in fines.
Well,
in
then
any
you have
way.
your filing fees. So there are filing fees
Well,
on civil cases.
These
If
are
you want to use
legitimate
the
functions
civil-
of government.
Right, if you want to use the
Fine.
civil justice system, there's a filing fee unless you're indigent, and there's always an opportunity to apply to have those fees waived if you're indigent. But otherwise, you pay a filing fee. All of that money that is county money goes to the county. It doesn't come to the court except for that 7% that's for the IT related issues. We use that for our case management
That
systems
is
and
to
things
fix
like
the
that.
elevators, or?
No, like
Oh.
case management system.
That means the county has an
interest.
interest in having lots of fines. And that's my problem with that.
Right, and most of them come from traffic offenses.
Yeah.
And when you say that we are,
And police
Yeah,
have quotas, they have to give
the
us
police
so
don't
many
have any
tickets.
time. If you call the police, it'll take forever for them to get there.
not because
Well,
they're
wait a
writing a
minute,
traffic
wait a
ticket,
minute,
but
that's
because
not
there
fair.
just aren't
That's
enough.
not fair.
But they
That's
have
not-
lots
no,
of
no.
time
That's
to
no,
hand out
wait a
traffic
minute,
tickets.
wait a
They're like
minute,
highway
wait a
men.
minute, that's not fair. It takes forever for them to answer the phone, and then they come fast. They come fast.
No, they don't.
Because the other day when I was attacked over here, it took an hour and 40 minutes for me to have the 911 to answer the phone.
No,
An hour and
That's-
40 minutes.
no, that's ridiculous.
It took a while.
Wow.
No, the 911
Well,
system is working very
But the
well.
point is, the court, through those traffic fines alone, the court brings in far in excess of our budget every year.
Yeah,
Far in
well,
excess, and it all goes to the county
and so
general
that-
fund.
And so,
There's a PR problem.
so that becomes a bragging point
Right,
for the court.
there's a PR
And so
problem.
we're financing it.
No, it's not a bragging point,
difference-
it's just a fact.
Okay, but it's different than, for example, building permits, for example. Okay, there's fine, there's a relationship between the cost of government and the cost of the operating the office and all that. A building department is not one of the 3 offices which are required by the Constitution. And it just seems like, to me, it just seems, I'll throw this out, it just seems like every penny of these fines should go into some kind of fund that is raffled off or has some totally separate function that no one has interest, no one person or one
There's a
institution
PR problem,
has
a
an
perception
institution.
problem, that
Well,
things are
yeah.
revenue enhancement. Like these speed traps where you see 10.
Yeah, that's right.
Police.
You don't trust
one
the
part of
system
the highway has
when you
never
see
had an
that.
accident for 100 years.
That's
And there's
right.
8 police around
That's
the corner
right.
that nobody
That's an
knows.
example.
And it's a
Now
5-lane highway.
we're getting out
and
of
there's
the,
revenue
now we're
enhancement.
getting out of justice court.
Yeah,
Well,
I
it's
mean,
a
I think
PR
these are
issue.
government, you know, county
That is
commission,
government,
county
yeah.
management questions. I mean,
But
I
she
don't know,
could
perhaps
rule
there
against
is a
it.
whole better way and a whole better system to do it. I don't know, this is the system that we have, so I can only speak to what we have now.
Well,
I mean, that's
but
what it
you're
is.
in a crucial position, maybe you could have a voice in making this, instead of everyone fighting over budget, the court should have their budget, period. Regardless of whether they convict one person or whether they convict 1 million people.
Well,
Well, and I think
everybody
we do.
should have a budget,
And I think
because
we
the
do.
budget
They don't.
for the building department should be the same when if one person go and ask for a permit or 10 people go to, they have to pay the same employees to be sitting in
Right.
there, so that's not
I mean,
fair.
our budget is
Wow.
not based upon number of convictions or anything like that. I mean, our budget is based upon needs. How many employees do we have? How much do we need in, you know, each
So there's,
expense? It's not tied to a fine collection. Our
So-
budget, all that money goes to the general fund. We apply to the general fund and we say that we have this number of employees, we have this many expenses,
And so-
and we need this budget.
You
so
have
what
any
you're saying
questions?
is there's no relationship at all
Yeah, but I
to
don't know.
the level of fines, to
Touchy
the number of
situation.
people in jail,
Huh?
to
To my
these
salary
private,
or-
these private
You
private
can ask in
jails
general.
and the
Question?
laws that we're creating in our society.
Are you
If they could
familiar
use-
with?
Well, I think there are special little pockets that fund those things. Like I said, like the $3 that funds the DNA testing, I mean, those kinds of things. Yeah, there's certainly pockets of that money that go towards specific expenses.
Well, for example, this was one of my things about the going to the county commission. What I told the county today, the county commission has created 3 new ordinances that will put more people in jail. I think the county commission has an interest in people being in jail and in getting fines and in collecting fines. And the judicial system is dragged along into this, and we don't have a real judicial system. It's very hard to get a trial by jury. Most of things are handled through plea bargains. The police overcharge people with.
The DA's
and
office
make it
charges
so
them.
easy. Well, but someone writes a ticket and
Yes,
they say.
but the DA's
this
office
did this.
decides whether they're prosecuting on that ticket or not. So the DA's office
Yeah.
makes the prosecution, the charging decision. And,
And
you know,
you
I don't think
think
it's
that-
difficult getting a trial. I
Well,
mean,
why do you?
I hold trials every day of the week.
People,
wanna go to
people
trial.
are threatened. You go to trial and you could end up in jail for lifetime. Or you take this plea bargain and you might not, you can end up with 10 years.
Well, and those
This
are
happens
very,
all
very
the time.
serious cases, yes, on very high level serious cases.
Well,
I mean, at my level at the Justice Court, we handle misdemeanor sentences.
yeah.
We handle those through the preliminary hearing, but we, in terms of trial, I mean, those are, you're right, those are decisions that get made between defense counsel, district attorney, and the defendant ultimately makes the decision on how they
Yeah.
want to proceed.
But the punishments are so
Risk.
severe in this country that it forces people into accepting plea bargains rather than have a trial.
And she's a justice court in Las Vegas. She doesn't know anything about California or Oregon or Colorado. It's Las Vegas.
And Las Vegas has one of the highest incarceration rates in the country, which has the highest in the entire world.
Which is
But
why
that's the
specialty courts are
difference.
so important, to keep people out of there. It's less expensive to run a specialty court and actually treat someone so that
And
they
you
don't
know,
reoffend.
Yes, it's less expensive to keep them out of jail.
Marsh-
There's nothing worse than a person who's been to jail and been exposed to all this violence and this way of this society that's developed in the jails. They come out as monsters in the society.
George Marshall was
It's-
telling me then it costs money to keep those people in jail. I
Of course
was
it
under
does.
the impression.
50,000 a
I
year.
was under the impression then somebody paid the Clark County Detention Center to keep those people over there. And that it was a business to keep people in there.
No.
And she opened.
county. County run, county pays for it.
And the police department wants to keep them full to justify the number of policemen that they have hired that work in the jail, and it's very suspicious how it's always full.
Well, it's always full because.
Because they're criminals.
No.
No, because
Because
it's so easy to commit crimes.
overcrowded. It's so overcrowded right now that, they're letting people out constantly. They're always letting people, trying to move sentences of post-conviction people of nonviolent offenses to allow them to serve it on house arrest. Or, we're looking at a new system now, evidence-based, validated pretrial assessment tools for judges to be able to use and have some good tools to use in us making bail decisions, OR decisions, things like that. So, having the right information before you yields a better decision in the end. And so we're looking to get better tools and better information before us. But I don't believe in the cynical view that, police officers are out there intentionally trying to fill up the jail just to justify their position.
Really?
I truly believe that police officers are seeking a
Okay,
safe community,
answer
and
me.
that's their job. I don't believe
Okay,
that, so I can't be that cynical.
Then answer me this. There are 200 countries in the world.
Oh, here we go again.
And we're saying, and the country that has more people in jail than any other is the United States. Are you saying that the people in the United States are the worst people of any country on the face of the earth, because that's the end result, is they're in jail, they're being punished for their bad behavior? No,
The only difference
would you say
between-
that? Would you say
The
US
only
people
difference-
are the worst people on earth?
The only difference between other countries and the United States,
Okay.
and the other country, the jails are empty because they killed the criminals. They don't.
That's what I was gonna say. In
That's-
China, you go to a rice paddy,
Oh,
you've never seen anything.
that is so much nonsense.
Well, our statistic are better
know,
in the United States.
Look,
With the liberals
that
being
is-
better
that
tracked.
is-
why
so
do you
ridiculous.
always
But-
have to compare us to some other country? We are
Yes,
unique.
we're in a
different
world
style of
society,
government.
that's a legitimate comparison. Why do we have so many people in jail? It's because of our laws. It's estimated that the average person commits 3 violations of federal law every day.
Jeez, wow. Well, that's
Yeah,
because
I'm not
of 800,000 regulations.
No.
So
Not me.
you have a hard
No,
time.
you're a judge. You accept. You accept.
What do you think of the election system for judges where they have to be raising campaign funds, and who they use to raise campaign funds is primarily from the lawyers that practice in their courtroom?
I think that's so, it's distasteful. It's uncomfortable. I
Right.
don't like it. It's
Should be
just
kind of a merit-based
unsavory.
system that's appointed
I
for
like
a selection process.
I like the judicial appointment process. I
Right,
do
right.
think the vetting of candidates.
That's
There's
the right
always
answer.
politics
What can we do to get
involved.
this done?
It's always-
I mean, there's always politics involved, whether it's, election or appointment, but I do feel like the vetting of
It's
the
a-
candidate
it's a
through an appointment
distasteful-
process
It's a
is
distasteful
better.
money-raising situation where basically a judge has the right to extort, if you will,
It's-
money from the lawyers.
This
It's
is,
a very distasteful
it
operation.
is
We
distasteful.
need to do something. What can we do?
Well, there's been measures put forth before in the legislature to move to kind of a, I forget what they,
Merit-based or something like
well,
that.
more of a, I don't know which state they mimicked
Missouri.
this. Maybe it was a Missouri plan, I can't
Yeah.
remember. But it was appointment and then a retention election. So you only
Right.
ran to keep your job, and
Right.
if the, you
There's
know,
been other states that have gone
Have
through
successfully
something like
done
that, and the
something like
reason
that.
they've done that is because the system we have in Nevada doesn't work, period. That's why Oregon
but
and some
our
other
voters
states.
haven't approved it.
Yeah, but
Well,
And
that's
it
the
would
problem with
require
information.
constitutional
I
change.
know, but let me ask you
They won't-
something.
When I said it doesn't work, you all disagreed with me.
Let me
You
ask
say
you-
it doesn't work, and
Let me ask
and
you-
everybody agrees.
Let
Well,
me
no,
ask you, let
that's
me ask
corrupts
you
the
all,
system.
let
No,
me ask you
that's
all.
what I'm saying.
What's the difference between appointment and then retention? It's just the idea is delaying the
You do it
election.
on a merit, like a Doug Smith,
Because
your
you don't have
example of his overturn rate is extremely high in the 90 percentile. That's a judge you might want to think about retention or not, because his appeal rate is so
Well,
high.
they think about it.
Yeah, but
He's-
the voters vote him.
Well, that's
It's-
the problem
and
with the
so,
system.
what are you talking about? He's voted on.
But that's the problem with the system, is voting
No,
on judges.
that's retention, it's the same thing.
Well,
Well,
no,
the difference
retention
would be
through a
you would
merit
not have an
system.
opponent. No one else would be running in your race. You would be
Right.
running on a single ballot that said, yes, we keep him or
Oh,
her,
really?
or no,
Oh,
we
that's
don't.
interesting.
So there would be no
Right.
opponent
Yeah.
And
running
who's
against
gonna
you.
replace
that
It's-
judge?
So it's just a ballot.
And
There
who's
would be
gonna
no
rule?
reason to vie for candidate
Oh,
funds and
that's
money and all
interesting.
of
I didn't know
that.
that.
And who-
Right, so
who's
there's
gonna
a
replace that
combination.
judge?
Well,
Another
if-
appointee?
Another
Yes.
appointment. So if the public
They're all
voted that they
appointed.
are not
Oh,
happy with
okay.
this
Interesting.
appointment,
There's something
Then they
that can
would-
be done, it's not hard.
that's
Other
the
states have
proposal that
done
was
it.
out there. And
Other states
Well,
have
This
done
was
it.
other
what-
states
this was
have
a
the
while
same
back.
problem.
It was
Well,
about
This
6
is a
years
difficult
ago.
issue.
There's a company out of Washington DC that does an annual report on the integrity, judiciary integrity of the courts. Nevada gets an F.
Really?
But that's not to say
What's
the
the
other
name of
states.
this? What's
It
the
is
name?
sad.
That is
Uh-oh.
shameful. That is shameful.
Right, but,
Yeah,
but in defense, if you want to call it a defense, 46 other states get an F also.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So-
but there's,
that's-
the passing
what I'm
rate is
saying.
D.
Right, like,
Oh,
that's
The
supposed to
other
make
four
us feel
states are
better?
C minuses and Ds. So it's pretty pathetic. And the reason it's pathetic is
So the
because
highest grade is a
it's
C minus?
Yeah, it's subject to corruption.
So C minus is the new A. That's really
Yeah, and
pathetic.
several years ago, 10 years ago, B was
There you
a grade that states got, was a B.
Ay, ay,
So
ay.
that's how far we've deteriorated. And I think the
Who has a
reason,
C minus?
just my opinion, is California, believe it or not. And I think the reason for that is because the court system's been hijacked by judges who are ex-lawyers for the most part, and lawyers who are using the system to get money. Take a civil case. Civil cases never end till one or both of the parties run out of money. And the reason that's controlled is because the lawyers are controlling the money. I take you to lunch, you take me to, how much money's your guy got? I got, okay, you do this motion, I'll reply with this motion, that's good for another 5,000, and then when the money's gone, no, this is serious. When the money's gone, that's when the case ends.
Yeah.
Because the lawyers don't have any more money.
And
to
you thought I was cynical.
And then,
No, but that's the truth.
and then when the money runs out, the attorney said, you
There's
don't
nothing
have
more
a
to get.
case,
Yeah,
you don't have a case, forget about it.
When you hire an attorney, you have a great, we're gonna just give me a $25,000 and we're gonna kill it. And then all of a sudden you run out of money, well, you never had a case to begin with.
You
I've been doing
ever,
What do you think
that.
about the squatter problem?
did you ever practice law in Las Vegas?
Other than at the district attorney's office, no, that was 6 years there.
So you never had
Like-
your light bill to pay or some other
No.
thing that these other lawyers are faced with trying to make?
No, that's correct. I
Yeah.
always worked in a government position.
You didn't have to pay for the secretary or the runner
Right,
or anything.
yeah.
No, that's right. I did
That
not.
puts pressure on attorneys,
Yeah.
Sure. it
especially in
does.
bad times.
Sure it does.
They gotta
Yeah,
rape,
and
they
then
gotta
they-
rape their clients. and
Everybody
walk
that
into
walk
the-
through
And then
the
some of them run
office,
for judge.
everybody that walk through the
Yeah,
office,
that's easier.
they ask, everybody that walk through the office, they ask 25,000, and then they go
Yeah.
down to 10,000, and then give me 5,000, okay, make me payment, and that's the way.
In a
they
civil
work.
case, I heard a judge say to a plaintiff that you have to understand something, all attorneys need to be paid. What do you mean? Isn't that the attorney's job to be paid? Why is a judge putting on a hat
The
trying to collect the
non-prevailing.
money for the lawyers who didn't have enough foresight to cover their own fees.
Well, I don't know that he
Why a
was,
judge awarding fees to lawyers?
but that's our job under the statute. I mean, the part of the
In
judgment
a civil
is,
case?
yes, absolutely. That's part of the statute is, I mean, there's
Okay,
case
can you
law that
award fees
says
against a winning plaintiff?
if they act against a winning plaintiff, I
Not
have to
that
think
case,
about that.
not that case.
You award attorney's fees to the prevailing plaintiff, or
Right.
I'm sorry, not the prevailing plaintiff, the prevailing party, whether it's a defense attorney
Sorry.
or a
Correct.
plaintiff. But there are times where they act outside of the rules, and you can always order attorney's fees to the other side as a sanction. So
A sanction.
if you did something inappropriately and it caused
Correct, I agree.
attorney's fees to be,
None of that
drummed up,
applies.
then
Yeah.
A
you
judge is
don't,
awarding money against the plaintiff because the plaintiff has money. The defendant
not for
doesn't have
attorney's
any money.
fees.
Oh, yes.
You award it to the prevailing party, whoever
The
wins.
plaintiff that has the money prevailed. The defendant lost.
Not necessarily.
Because the defendant was stealing money from the plaintiff. They lost. The attorney,
And he has
because,
to pay the attorney's fees.
well, but this is not the case. In a Nevada court, the judge is awarding fees to the defendant's attorney that lost the case.
Okay.
Why? Because the plaintiff has money.
Not in justice court. Our
I-
statutes say prevailing party gets attorney's
Okay,
fees.
well, I
And then
think-
you look at the case law that says you have to look at all these factors,
Okay, let's say
length of experience, time
You
involved
have
in
the
the
discipline
case.
committee. Wouldn't they be more or less in charge that if a judge is ruling against a prevailing plaintiff and awarding fees to a non-prevailing defendant, no sanction, none of that's involved.
Right.
It's just an issue of playing A or B. He pays B because A has money, and B, the lawyer over here, needs the money. All lawyers must be paid, you have to understand that. Would the discipline committee do something about that?
That's
Would they
a,
run-
that's a,
I
that's
have to
an
look at the
issue.
entire transcript to
That's
see
an
what we're
issue.
talking about here.
That's
Well,
an issue
one
for the
statement
next,
out of context.
that's an issue
Well,
for
I
the next
understand.
show.
My question
That's
is
an
based
issue.
on, given the facts, as that can't be done, in my opinion, that can't be done.
Judge, have we made you comfortable?
No, I don't know, not at the end.
Have we made you comfortable, or do you think we're gonna have the honor to have you again?
Absolutely.
Oh,
We try to
I
ask.
can handle you.
She liked that.
He asks all the softball questions, Ed and I ask all the unanswerable questions.
Because I'm the host, I have to be gracious to my guests.
So she'll say next time, is that guy Ed or Clark gonna be there? I'm not coming.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
Well, it was a pleasure to have you, very
It
nice.
was a
Are
pleasure.
you running against anybody?
Thank you.
Anyone running against you, I should say?
Yes.
Yeah, but we don't supposed to mention
I
names.
I have two opponents, which means I have a primary election, so it's incredibly important for people to start voting in early voting May 28th. And
How can they contact you? You have an email address?
I do, judgesaragosa@gmail.com, or my website is www.judgesaragosa.com.
And take a
Either
look
one
at,
of those
take a
locations.
look at that website because you're gonna be very impressed with what you're gonna see in there. Judge Saragosa is all one word.
Anybody can see
All one
this
word.
interview by going on YouTube, radiotribune.com, and just look up Face the Tribune and your name, and the website will come up and they can replay this. And-
Great.
And this show is gonna be run tomorrow at noon.
All right,
Yeah, new
excellent.
Re-
So if
Rebroadcast.
you wanna.
Say, vote in the
it will-
primary.
It will not be put on the,
YouTube will be up within the hour.
Okay, so if you wanna, if you have
Just for
any
your information, if you
list
got
of
a
friends or something.
potential voter or somebody that wants to see
Okay.
me, just say, go to YouTube. You know,
Because
there you
honestly,
So it works.
whatever you say here today is very important and it makes
go. Yeah,
sense.
it is.
And
Knowledge
it
is
makes
important.
sense, very much important. You know, stop these newcomers. Can you take us out?
Yeah, sure you
Okay.
can.
Okay.
I'm waiting for your direction.
No, no. Oh, please. Oh, please.
Yeah, right.
Right. Thank you for listening. And thank you, Josh, for being here today.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you, Ed, for being here today. That's a miracle. Every time you get a judge that has a blonde hair, you show up. I don't know how do you manage to do that. You know, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere.